There's a moment you cannot forget. A subtle shift inside your chest. A tone slips into your voice you swore you would never carry. A reflection in another's eyes shows someone you once feared. Not cruelty. Recognition. Survival, if left unchecked, becomes something else. And in that still moment, you meet the monster, and it wears your own face. No one notices the first fracture. It doesn't look like betrayal or anger. It looks like strength. You stop explaining yourself. You stop leaning in when uncertainty lingers. You tell yourself this is wisdom. And in a quiet corner of the chest, softness begins to fade. It is not dramatic. It is subtle. A shadow learning to move with you, guided by survival, and calling itself necessity. The world applauds your composure. But inside, the echo of what you once were grows distant, and the first trace of the monster settles in your reflection. You try to dismiss it, to call it stress, growth, fatigue, but something in you knows this is not exhaustion, because the shift did not happen in your circumstances. It happened in your response. And once you begin to sense it, you start seeing it everywhere. In the pauses after you speak, in the distance that lingers longer than it should, in the subtle retreat of someone who used to feel safe with you. The mirror is forming, and it is no longer avoidable. Recognition does not shout. It arrives in a pause, in the way someone grows careful around you, in the way warmth becomes measured. You notice it, the same hesitation you once carried in someone else's presence. And for a moment, time folds. You remember how it felt to speak and not feel received, to open up and sense distance instead of safety. Now the roles are reversed. There is an old warning about vision, about how easy it is to see clearly when the flaw is outside of you, and how difficult it becomes when it lives within. Awareness demands humility, and humility unsettles pride. You replay your words, your tone, your silence, not because you meant harm, but because intention does not erase impact. And slowly, without drama, you understand. The monster was never rage. It was resemblance. The pattern is older than you think. It lives in gestures, in pauses and reflexes that once protected you. It travels silently, like a river carving its course beneath the surface, shaping how you speak, how you retreat, how you guard what should be tender. You are not cruel. You are patterned. And yet, seeing it is jarring, to recognize that what wounded you has found a home within yourself. It is not a fault you chose. It is inheritance, subtle and relentless. And knowing this, the weight settles quietly in your chest, not as punishment, but as a summons. The moment you see the shadow, you must decide whether it will continue or end with you. Recognition alone is not enough. Awareness carries weight. Each word, each pause, each tone becomes deliberate. The old impulses still rise, whispering familiarity. But now you notice. Now you measure. Now you can interrupt the cycle before it completes itself. A question lingers in the silence. Will I let this define me, or will I move differently? It is not easy. The world rewards armor and reflex, but choosing to respond differently, to stay soft, attentive, and present, is the beginning of quiet transformation. Awareness is a weight you cannot ignore. Every tone, every pause, every subtle gesture becomes deliberate. The old instincts rise, familiar and tempting. But now they meet your attention. Now they meet your restraint. You realize survival no longer dictates your response. There is a difference between what is natural and what is necessary. To interrupt the pattern is to act against the gravity of habit. It is to remain soft when the world expects hardness. To stay present when withdrawal feels safer. To speak gently when silence would protect. Each small choice becomes a quiet act of defiance against the inherited shadows that once moved freely through you. And in this tension, you feel the first stirrings of transformation. Not dramatic, not perfect, but deliberate, intentional, alive. The monster does not vanish. It waits in corners you have learned to illuminate. But now you know you can walk differently. You can answer with presence instead of reflex. You can let light reach spaces once claimed by shadow. This choice does not erase the past, but it changes what will follow. Change does not arrive in grand gestures. It begins in restraint. In noticing the old impulse rise, the urge to withdraw, to sharpen, to protect, and choosing consciously not to follow it. There is a subtle strength in staying open when closing would feel safer. A strength that does not dominate, does not repel, does not demand control. It listens. It absorbs. It responds softly when history urges harshness. Each small act, a pause before speaking, a softer answer, a measured presence, becomes a quiet rebellion against the inherited patterns that shaped you. And slowly, the weight begins to lift. Not from forgetting, not from erasing what came before, but from choosing differently, intentionally, deliberately. The shadows remain, but they move differently now. They no longer dictate your voice, your posture, your presence. You walk with awareness, each step a subtle prayer, each restraint a small act of grace. It is not perfection. It is not redemption fully realized, but it is progress. And it is enough to shift the world you inhabit, to rewrite the path the monster might have taken. The monster does not vanish. It waits in corners you have learned to illuminate. It whispers in silence, in pauses, in the spaces once claimed by reflex. But now you move differently. You notice, you measure, you respond. You no longer inherit what was never healed. You rewrite it in each choice. Each restraint becomes a small prayer. Each act of presence, a quiet grace. Monsters are not prisons. They are maps. Maps of pain, of survival, of the self you almost became. And in reading them carefully, you discover the possibility of walking differently, of letting light reach the spaces once claimed by shadow. Not perfect, not complete, but present. And for now, that is enough. So in this quiet space, you carry the awareness with you. The monster may linger, but so does your choice. So does your light. Take a moment tonight to notice the patterns you inherit and the ways you might walk differently tomorrow. If this journey stirred something in you, let it continue. Subscribe, linger, and return for more moments where reflection meets sound and silence becomes a guide. Listen, feel, and let the music hold you. Because in these spaces, even shadows can teach, and even monsters can show the path to presence.